Colonel Richard Kemp. Colonel Kemp, you had a Sami Terajima there saying that it seems to me Ukrainians are expected for a particularly heavy bombardment over coming days. But things haven't really been going to plan for Russia, have they? And we've seen this 40-mile death convoy, as it's been named, failing yet to get into Kyiv. What do you think the Russian strategy is?
Well, the original Russian strategy was to bring down the government of Kyiv with minimum force, without too much bloodshed, and that was not for humanitarian reasons, but it was to prevent there being mass body bags going back to Russia, and also to destroy too much of Ukraine. But that doesn't appear to have succeeded, and therefore Russia is on the verge and has already begun much more extreme violence. And they're probably the strategy is probably to take the other cities, such as Mariupol, such as Kherson, which, as we saw, has fallen already, and Kharkov, before turning on Kiev with full force. And it may be that the reason for that sequencing is perhaps the availability of air assets to support the attacks. And so that 40-mile long column may well just be waiting there and waiting until the moment's right to be committed to an attack or encirclement of Kiev. It may also be there's logistic problems with the vehicles as well, but I think it's much more likely that it's just waiting for the order to move.
There's been a lot of disinformation circulating about the number of casualties that have been inflicted on both sides. But there are reports that the Russian casualties could number far more than, in fact, during the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, which was a 10-year-long conflict. How much more do you think that Russia has in their arsenal to commit to this campaign?
Well, I think we should regard reports of casualties on both sides with some caution, because, of course, in a battle, reports and figures, etc., are often deeply confused and turn out later to be wrong. And of course, there's also an element of propaganda from both sides, quite understandably, in a conflict. So I don't know. We don't know, obviously, whether there has been the huge number of casualties that Ukraine is claiming against the Russians. I do think the Russians have got a great deal more in reserve, though. They've got overwhelming force that's far greater than the Ukrainian army. And also has greater capability than the Ukrainian army. But we have seen the Ukrainians put up a very staunch fight. We can only admire their fight against the Russian invaders. But I do think that the Russians have got a lot more to come after the initial echelons have been doing their attacking.
Colonel Richard Kemp, thank you for your insight.